In 1953, Ohio native James J. Matthews, a decorated Army Air Corps pilot in World War II, opened the first of 18 Tops Drive-ins at the corner of Arlington Boulevard and Glebe Road in Arlington, Virginia. After the war, he worked in the luncheonette at the Hecht's Department Store Company in Washington, D.C. After gaining this valuable restaurant experience, he decided to strike out on his own. Drive-ins were popping up all over the United States, whereas the traditional diner concept involved a sit-down meal with food just like mom would make. At a drive-in, the food was brought to you. Americans had fully embraced car culture, and these spots became hangouts for teenagers throughout the 1950s and early 1960s, as depicted in George Lucas's American Graffiti. Tops interiors featured turquoise-colored phones at the tables for placing your order. Most drive-ins had at least some form of indoor seating, but the real novelty was the teletray ordering system. Customers would pull into a spot and push an intercom button that would transmit direct to the kitchen. Once your order was ready, a uniformed employee would deliver your food on a tray designed to fit over the door of your vehicle. The Wright's Dairy Right that I visited in a previous video still uses the same ordering system. 3 of the sandwiches served at Tops were the Loiner, the Jim Dandy, and the Maverick. Tops heralded the freshness of its ingredients by using only the choicest cuts of meat. Matthews branded the restaurant as the home of the Sirloiner, in honor of their signature 2-patty hamburger, which used fresh ground prime beef, a style of burger that I find endlessly fascinating in its history, as numerous restaurants claim to be the first to originate the concept. As the menu evolved, so did the drive-in's partnerships. Not satisfied with a menu offering only burgers and fries, in the mid-1960s, Matthews signed exclusive franchise rights to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and folks around the DMV were treated to their first taste of the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices. Matthews and the Colonel were good friends and business partners. His son, James J. Matthews Jr., remembered, "The Colonel treated Dad like a son. He, meaning the Colonel, didn't allow drinking or smoking in his home. But there was always a bottle of bourbon and cigarettes waiting in my dad's room when we came to see him in Kentucky." When Colonel Sanders retired from active operations in 1964, Jim Matthews went on the board of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Tops was a local hit, especially in restaurant-deprived Fairfax, Virginia. In the early 1950s, your options were limited to a handful of inns, diners, and the Howard Johnson. In researching this video, I found 20-year-old internet threads of folks reminiscing about after football game hangouts, first dates with future spouses, and nights out with the family. But if it was such a hit with locals operating almost 20 restaurants, what happened to it? And how come nobody I speak with seemed to remember it? For that, we need to go back to last year when I was researching Northern Virginia locations for my big Burger Chef video. Amid editing footage for that video, I stumbled across a building in Fairfax Circle, which is currently operating as a used car dealership, but to me, screamed 1960s open kite model Burger Chef. I posted the photo on a local Facebook history page, and my post went viral, receiving well over 400 comments. While folks debated the origins of that structure, one guy commented, "Wasn't that the Tops?" Another person posted beneath that comment that, "No, it was Gino's." Yet another posted, "No, wrong location. Gino's was actually in the Circle, meaning Fairfax Circle. It was across from the Hojo, meaning the Howard Johnsons." To all of which my response was, "What?" I began conducting internet searches, and it didn't take long to find an article from the summer of 2007 in a newsletter called Fairfax Gazette, all about the Tops Drive-In. Included in the article is one fantastic historic aerial of the Circle, and bingo, I had my location. It was indeed located in the Circle and across from the Hojo restaurant. It was also right next to the dealership where I used to have my old Jeep serviced. But what happened to the Tops Drive-In? Well, what happened to a lot of restaurants in the 1960s? Competition. Oh, hi McDonald's. Welcome to the neighborhood. Here's an ad I found from sometime in the 1960s, hyping the brand new McDonald's drive-in restaurant which was conveniently located across the street from Tops. And we now know that a burger chef was also operating just a block or two down the boulevard. With declining sales, instead of commandeering a failing business, Matthews merged his company with Geno's Hamburgers in 1967. I won't go into the history of that chain, as I might cover it in a future video. Tops became Geno's in 1968. Jim became an executive with the Geno's Corporation and served on its board of directors. He stayed there until Geno's was acquired by the Marriott Corporation in 1972. Oh, and guess what? The building is still there. While the location of the first standalone Tops on Glebe Road has been scrubbed from history, the Tops building in Fairfax Circle is standing where it always has. I can't find any photos of the actual Tops restaurant. All I can find are photos of the glorious neon street signs. The only idea we have of what the restaurant might have looked like is from the historic aerial photograph. It was an A-frame building. This architectural style was popular in the 50s and 60s. And most Geno's restaurants were also A-frame buildings, so that makes sense chronologically. The Hojo across the street was torn down long ago and is now a Dunkin'. I've driven around this circle many times with barely a glance at the Kaizen MMA, but decided to go pick up some B-roll for this video. I didn't realize the building was abandoned until I entered the parking lot. Let's just say the smell was not great. Someone had been using the front entryway as a home, and their belongings were still tucked away by the front door. Long gone are the arms of the former Tops that would have had the teletrace systems in each parking spot. This would have been where cars would pull up to order. I must say that this building is big. It's easy to imagine a packed parking lot on a Friday night in the early 1960s with dozens of teens bebopping around. At the time of the 2007 article, this was operating as an Asian grocery. Posted on one window is a building permit from a few years ago. I'm guessing the restaurant that was going to be here lost their funding or something and pulled out. The improvement description reads, interior renovation of a standalone existing building into a new restaurant. The building was used for a restaurant initially, then it was used as a karate center. No exterior change. So there's our answer. It was used as a building initially, meaning that this site was originally zoned for a restaurant. This was our Tops. So how do I plan to resurrect a long dead menu item from a barely remembered regional restaurant chain? And what am I making today? Well, I'm all over that Sir Loiner. And I found an ancient link to a recipe for the secret sauce, which was just Kraft's Thousand Island dressing. The poster stated that his good friend in high school was the son of the owner and worked in 2 of their restaurants, so that's good enough for me. We have photos of what the burger looked like in a menu that I found from the 1960s. We also have an ad spot from the 50s where a local weatherman spells out the ingredients. That video is posted to YouTube, and I'll link it below if you're interested. And we know that this burger was less about the secret sauce and all about the quality of the meat. I don't have a meat grinder, but my local Safeway has prime rib beef patties pre-made in the meat section. They're a little on the pricey side, but I'll spare no expense for accuracy. At Safeway, I also purchased a small packet of shredded lettuce and the smashed burger seasoning. I have the rest of the ingredients at home. Oh, and Aldi has these really nice brioche buns, which I'll toast first. If you're curious about how I made the middle bun, I explained it in my Carol's video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a short about the process. I haven't used this stove attachment much, so it took me a bit to figure out the hot zones on my gas range. Toward the last 30 seconds or so of cooking, I added 1 slice of yellow American cheese. Once they're finished, I'll sweep them from the grill. Assembly on this one is straightforward. Bottom bun, burger patty with cheese, middle bun, second patty, lettuce, special sauce on the top bun, and then close. One unique feature to this burger was each one came with a dill pickle slice speared through the top bun. After I took the publicity photos, I wrapped the burger like I've seen them wrapped at other burger joints. You know, contrary to what it may appear like here on the channel, I actually don't eat a lot of burgers, so I was really psyched to try this. I also don't own a meat grinder, so when I first came across this restaurant, I was really unsure if I was gonna be able to do it because they use prime rib, which right now is actually very expensive, and these patties were about $10, but these were in my local Safeway. And I discovered them, I don't know, several months ago, but I needed to do a little bit more research about the restaurant itself before I dove into this. And I also grabbed McDonald's French fries because they are right next to the Safeway where I bought these items from. And I find it fascinating because recently on that same Facebook group that I first heard about the Tops, somebody posted an advertisement for the opening of the McDonald's. I think it was like 1964. I'm not saying that McDonald's killed Tops, but there is a reason why the sales of the drive-in was declining and the restaurant was eventually merged into that Geno's. But let's dive into this before it gets cold. There's so much setup time with these videos that by the time I get a chance to eat it, it's like lukewarm. So I really want to try this. And I thought it would be fun to go the extra mile and do the classic diner wrap. This parchment paper is not big enough quite. I thought we achieved the same result. This is just a basic double pattied burger. Very similar to the Big Mac, very similar actually to the Mighty Mo, the very first double burger that I actually did on this series. I love the double burger patty concept. I think it's very unique. Every company claims to have founded it. It probably was Bob's, but it could have also been the Marriott Corporation at those hot shop chains. But this is just another variation of it, but it was super easy to make. So let's go ahead and just try it out. That prime rib gives it a, I guess a beefier flavor, if that makes any sense. And it's cooked perfectly. That flat top that I use on my oven doesn't quite get the consistent level of temperature, so I have to move the burgers around. And I flip them around a little bit more than you would normally do on a flat top. And that's just so I can get a consistent cook throughout the entire patty. But there's a little bit of a charring on here, which I enjoy, which I think you would have gotten at a fast food style, you know, griddle. In one restaurant advertisement, I saw they had shoestring fries, which I think of like In-N-Out Burger and Freddy's for shoestring. In all the photos I found, they look a lot more like McDonald's French fries. And so I thought that's why I would go to McDonald's instead. The other thing that I thought that sounded super unique is that the onion rings, part of the batter was Ritz crackers crumbled up. That sounds pretty awesome. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a like. It took me a while to do the research for this restaurant chain because it was very small and it existed a long time ago, way before my time. But by all accounts, this was just a fun teenage hangout in the 1950s and the early 1960s. Please make sure you subscribe for more silly nonsense like this, where we try to dive back into the past and bring back something that is long dead. And is there anywhere that Colonel Sanders did not exist in the 1960s? The dude was ubiquitous. He had so much involvement with all these different restaurant chains. And this is like, I don't know, this is almost like a ghost kitchen, even though I know it was a franchise deal. And if you watched my review of Wright's Dairy Right down in Stanton, Virginia, in my research just from walking around the restaurant itself, I saw that they also had an affiliation with Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of this burger and clean up my oven because there's grease everywhere. And I will see you on the next video. Peace.